And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wags in Culver City.
John, episode 2 is dropped of Gavin Newsom's new podcast. This is Gavin Newsom, and this time he's got Savage Nation on.
This is Gavin Newsom.
That is so narcissistic.
This is Gavin Newsom. And this is Michael Savage.
What happened to his voice?
A little gravelly.
Is Michael Savage.
Got a little thick tongue there.
Is Michael Savage. The hell are you doing here? Why? What are we doing here?
And that's all I'm going to play for you because this podcast so far, I've listened to 2/3 of it and it is incredibly boring.
Okay, so the two of them apparently have known one another for quite some time. Apparently, Michael Savage lives in San Francisco.
Well, now he lives in Marin County, but he lived in San Francisco since the 70s.
Okay. And the two of them, their paths have crossed many times over the years. So my guess is it's just two friends talking over the backyard fence.
A lot of it so far was about like North Beach politics, San Francisco politics in the 1970s.
Well, this isn't going to generate national attention like the Charlie Kirk interview did.
Probably not. I haven't finished listening to it, and unfortunately, I think I have to keep listening to it.
Yeah, you never know if he's going to say something about transgenders. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we've been telling you that ever since the fire started, the mayor of Los Angeles, Mother Goose, cannot catch a break. And Randy, her streak is not yet broken.
Yesterday, Karen Bass calls together the most bizarre press conference where she and Ulysses Hernandez and the new LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell, all come together to take a victory lap because they say they've cleaned up MacArthur Park, but it's still dirty.
But they get an A for effort.
Karen Bass says the park is so much cleaner because we put up a fence, which I find fascinating, because putting up a fence at Echo Park is what got Mitch O'Farrell to lose his job to Hugo Soto Martinez. And then Jim McDonnell says we made a whole bunch of busts on illegal vending because that's where you go if you want to buy stolen goods or Social Security cards is MacArthur Park. But then Ulysses Hernandez spends 6 minutes in the middle of it saying, no, the reason the park is so clean now is because of all my harm reduction programs. And then Karen Bass says, but the park isn't really clean yet. We're just getting started. So what exactly was the point of all this?
Yeah, none of that makes any sense.
For a little recap, here's a little Ed Laskos.
Crackdown on crime.
Love him.
He's the best.
Fox 11, you never let go of that man.
Crackdown on crime. LAPD out with this video showing all the stolen merchandise. Look at all of it. All of it swiped from retailers citywide, from CVS to Walgreens to Target, just to name a few. All of it worth some $350,000, and all of it recovered from a raid near MacArthur Park.
This criminal
You don't say.
Hard to believe.
It's almost like we know where all the criminal activity is.
This criminal network has been a primary driver of violent crime in MacArthur Park and surrounding areas for a long time.
This is MacArthur Park, long known as a lightning rod for violent street gangs and their control of the park with its open sale of drugs. But this mass shooting near the park last January really brought in the heat. A targeted attack that hit 6 people, even taking down bystanders and a security guard.
So a massive gang shooting led Karen Bass to finally take the handcuffs off of LAPD and let them do something in MacArthur Park.
You know what would have prevented that shooting, Randy?
What's that?
Narcan.
All pushing the city to say enough.
By the way, this press conference had Jim McDonnell saying that shooting caused us to make a whole bunch of arrests. And Ulysses says, no. It was my youth gang violence interrupters. We de-escalated and we prevented retaliatory shootings.
Good job.
All pushing the city to say enough already, slapping the park with a major crackdown, installing this fencing to seal off most of that active drug trade.
Do you remember all the names that Mitch O'Farrell got called when he put up a fence at Echo Park?
Oh, yeah. They implied that he was part of the Klan.
Yeah, and that's how Hugo Soto Martinez ran against him and won.
Yeah, clap that up.
Now MacArthur Park, Eunice Hernandez's district, Karen Bass puts up a fence, and it's a great thing.
It's so weird to me how that works. It's the same thing with the border wall. When the Democrats put up a border wall, we're just looking at public safety. That's fine. When the Republicans do it, it's, oh, my God, you're a vile racist.
I don't know if anybody can drive around there now and not see a significant difference.
Except for Norm Langer, who hasn't seen a significant difference.
And his business is there.
But there are those who sharply disagree. This man yelling out, interrupting the press conference.
We're totally opposite. We're here today to highlight the
That's right. Eunice and Karen Bass were getting heckled by John Alley, the guy that does the Santa Monica is Not Safe campaign. He's got a bunch of businesses in MacArthur Park that are telling a completely different story.
And they're not used to that. They're used to seeing Kevin De Leon get heckled. They're used to Paul Krikorian getting it from people. They're not used to being the recipients.
The press conference.
We're totally opposite.
It's totally opposite of what you're saying.
And that's true. Allie is 100% correct.
Well, and that's because this press conference wasn't really about MacArthur Park because there's nothing really to celebrate at MacArthur Park. Yes, the LAPD has done some busts because they were finally allowed to do that, and that is great. Putting up the fence is great, but that park is still a massive, huge drug den, and even they'll admit they're not taking out the drug addicts. What this press conference was about was Karen Bass giving an attaboy to Eunice, holding a press conference talking about how successful Eunice was with all her nonsensical programs that we've talked about that she put in that park, like the passing out of the Narcan at the same time we're passing out the meth pipes. And this is Karen Bass kissing the ring of Eunice so the DSA doesn't run against her in March.
Yeah, she knows she's going to get a candidate running against her from the right, whether it's Rick Caruso or Tracy Park or whomever. However, what she can't have is she can't have incoming fire coming from the right and the left. So if a DSA candidate runs against her based on competence, then that would be unbelievably damaging to her because that would create all kinds of conflict between those voters and Karen Bass. And if she makes it to the November runoff, she's going to need all those people to vote for her again.
Most members of the council know that Karen Bass is damaged goods, so they don't want to be seen anywhere near her when she has a press conference. Every time Karen Bass is in the Palisades, Tracy Park is not at those press conferences. But who is willing to be on the stage with Karen Bass? At this press conference, it was Eunice Hernandez. And when Karen Bass had the press conference firing the fire chief, she was joined by Hugo Soto Martinez, who's DSA, and Marquise Harris Dawson, who's DSA curious.
And you know what I'd like to say, Randy? You only need co-signers if your credit is bad.
We're here today to highlight the progress made.
We don't see any progress.
Good for him for showing up.
And she's been saying that for 9 months and done nothing. We don't believe her.
Doesn't believe the mayor, he says, when she claims violent crime in the park has dropped 57% in the past 5 weeks alone.
And, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Could be that the LAPD has done a crackdown, which is great, except we're also not getting rid of the drug addicts that are roaming that park every single day. But it also could be that a lot of the gangs that operate in that park are in this country illegally, and they might be laying low right now.
Oh, yeah, because they know that if Donald Trump finds him, Donald Trump is going to send them back to wherever it is that they came from.
This is the place you go to in Los Angeles. It is well known if you want to buy a stolen Social Security card.
Oh, yeah. I would bet you it's not just MacArthur Park, but it's the MacArthur Parks all over the nation where people who are here illegally, who are buying documents that are forged documents, or who are participating in any kind of illegal black market activities, I bet you they're all lying low right now because they're all scared to death that Donald Trump will deport them.
3 tenants of ours have told us they're going to close. They can't take the threats from the cartel members who are asking for or telling them that their vendors are going to go on the sidewalk. They're upset.
Doesn't mean the job is done.
Then why did you have a press conference?
Well, not only does she want to show that she has support on the council, she wants to change the subject from the fires.
That didn't work out, as you'll see shortly.
Doesn't mean the job is done. We have a long way to go, and we have to deal with the people.
She's banging that podium again.
She likes to do that.
We have a long way to go, and we have to deal with the people who are suffering from addiction. That's the next step.
So they cleared out a bunch of trash in the park, but they did not clear out the people that are causing all of the trash in the park.
Well, then you're going to end up with more trash.
And that's great because Ulysses Hernandez is actually funneling money to organizations that hire homeless people to pick up the trash.
I wonder if she's the slightest bit curious as to what they use that money for.
Ulysses Hernandez is a walking, talking homelessness industrial complex.
But I think that we have made significant improvements, and much more needs to be done.
So you haven't?
Of course not.
So that's the Ed Lascos piece. Now, I'm going to give you choose your own adventure here, Johnny, because Karen Bass got asked a lot of questions at this presser. Do you want to hear the Norm Langer question, or do you want to hear the questions about her texts from the fire and her staffers about the fire?
Oh, let's go right into the text messages.
Here we go. Here is what Karen Bass, she held this press conference thinking that everyone was going to ask about MacArthur Park. And the first question out of the gate was about the fact that she deletes her text messages.
Next question.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we'll go to Chris first.
And, of course, they don't mic the reporters in 2025.
Dear Bass, I wanted to ask you about your text messages following the Palisades fire. I know that LA Times has put in a PRA request, so did Boston London. I want to know why they were deleted, and also if people that you texted and who returned messages to you, if their messages were also deleted.
Lindsay Horvath kept hers.
And they ended up in the LA Times.
And, that...
So let me just say that my phone did automatic delete after 30 days. We've been swamped.
I didn't do that on purpose.
No, it's just standard protocol.
So let me just say that my phone did automatic delete after 30 days. We've been swamped with CPRA, and so it took a while. But we're also looking to see if there's some other way to retrieve the messages. So stay tuned, and we'll follow up on your CPRA requests.
No, you won't.
No, what she's going to do is she's going to make sure that the process takes forever so everyone just moves on.
Well, and those requests were put in the second week of January. And how convenient is it that before she responds to the public records request, her texts all get deleted?
How convenient.
I have your text messages here. Next question to Julia.
Wait, that was John Alley again.
I have your text messages here.
I have your text messages.
Good for him.
Next question to Julia.
I also had a question on... We filed that PRA.
I know.
Right then, so I'm wondering...
I know.
I imagine there were other PRAs filed for your taxes.
Yes.
Yes, every single news organization in the city and the county and maybe even the state is asking for your records when you were flying back from Ghana. But no, she deleted those.
Oh, Randy, she was very, very, very busy, but she's going to get on that as soon as she can.
Historical document. I'm wondering why they weren't saved.
Yeah, so let me just say that it took a while. It took us a while to respond to the text messages, and by that time, they had already deleted. But we are...
How convenient.
So it's not her doing anything dirty. It's just, it takes a while.
Did she think that holding a press conference the day the text message scandal came out was going to be good for her?
She's used to having complete control over the news media in L.A. It's a one-party state and a one-party city. She is not used to being treated this way. It's a whole new world for her.
She's never been challenged in all her time in the assembly or Congress or her first year as mayor. Now she's being challenged. Now the cracks are showing, and every instinct that she has to deal with this is the wrong one.
But we are looking to see if we can retrieve them in another way. So stay tuned.
When people are PRA, they get a notification right then.
Yes, but we get hundreds of them.
Next question is Spectrum, and then to Alex.
Oh, how convenient that her staffer says, next question is Spectrum.
Oh, yeah. let's go to the DSA television network and allow them to save the mayor because she doesn't have an acceptable answer to the question about text messages.
Next question is Spectrum and then to us. Do you believe this 30-day text message deletion is in...
Even Spectrum asked about the text messages.
That's shocking.
I'm telling you, she has lost support across the board, and that's why this whole press conference existed, because Ulysses Hernandez needed to get elevated by Karen Bass in order to solidify her support with the furthest left wing of the city council to save her ass and not have Kenneth Mejia run against her next year.
And I would imagine that in shops like Spectrum, there are a lot of Kenneth Mejia fans over there. So maybe they think this is their opportunity to dump the Democrat machine candidate and replace her with a DSA candidate.
Do you believe this 30-day text message deletion is in compliance with California public law? Record law?
It was my understanding.
Kevin Osbeck, ABC 6.
And by the way, that's a statute that for somehow goes back to the 80s before text messages were a thing. So that needs to be updated. And then Gavin Newsom was asked about all his correspondence, and Gavin's office said, oh, I'm exempt from that.
What's the difference? I know we had this conversation before. What's the difference between a text message and an email? It's a form of electronic communication where information is being passed from one person to another.
I think when these laws were written, text messages were a very different thing because you didn't even have a keyboard on your phone. So that needs to be updated because right now there is a loophole for government officials to communicate with each other, and no one's just doing like a random thumbs up. You can have full conversations via text. Some people have bigger conversations via text than you do in person, and that's not subject to public records requests. That is a huge loophole in the state of California.
Kevin Osbeck, ABC 7. We have 19 pending public records requests.
Every question's about the text messages.
19 pending public records requests with your office. Not a single record has been released yet. The estimation we've been given for your emails from around the 7th may not be produced, we were told, until June 5th.
No. No.
No. I would never do that to you.
It is really getting under her skin.
And it is really refreshing to see members of the local press taking her to task because she's a buffoon.
No. I promise you we will respond to it. We are on it this week.
Your people just said June.
How can they let her continue to go out and do these press conferences when it's just one automatic spanking machine after another?
Your policy on messages?
Yes.
I have them. Next question.
That was John Alley again. I have your text. That story's not going away anytime soon.
No.
All right, Johnny, choose your own adventure. You want to hear about the staffers?
We'll hear about the staffers. Let's take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll find out what Karen Bass has to say about those who work for her. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Let's look at this one right here. Mike writes in, listening in Fullerton at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. I just want to say that Randy having to actually listen to that pompous, empty suit with delusions of grandeur truly shows his dedication. We appreciate you, Randy. You're a dedicated masochist. I suggest you start hitting yourself in the head with a hammer instead. At least it feels good when you stop.
What prose. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's show or a show from last week and you want to go back and find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is go to KABC.com, click on podcast, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube or get that handy-dandy KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. It's the easiest way to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. Listen to yesterday's show where we found out what the gangs are doing to the mail vans in Oakland.
I don't know if this was my mailman or is this a hip-hop man? What is...
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Let's do that right now. It's a big one. Wait, let me double check that we're still giving this away because this is a damn big prize. And if we're not actually giving it away, then I'm going to have to pay for it. We are. 790 KABC welcomes global phenomenon and illusionist David Blaine at the Encore Theater at Wynn Las Vegas with 6 headlining performances through April 2025. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a one-night stay at the Wynn Las Vegas and a pair of tickets to the show. This is all furnished by Wynn Las Vegas. That's a huge prize. Good luck dialing.
Of course, during the break, I look at People magazine and I find out that Scott Peterson apparently just got assaulted in prison, arguing with another inmate over a game of pickleball. And Rosie O'Donnell announced that she's moving to Ireland and staying there until Donald Trump is gone. I don't know if that'll work out for her. Isn't Ireland known for potatoes?
Yes, they are.
Does she need more carbs? All right, let's go back to L.A. Mayor Karen Bass.
Karen Bass was asked about the other reports that have come out that, well, she can claim that she wasn't personally briefed on the fires by the fire department or the weather service. Her staffers were. How come none of them told her?
We reported a couple weeks ago that more than a dozen of your staffers were advised of the threatening wind and wildfire conditions before you left the country. You were also told that they didn't share that information with you. I'm wondering, since then, have any staff in your office either been fired or disciplined as a result of failing to provide information, or just in general about the handling?
So, based on what you're telling us, Karen Bass, that no one told you about the fires and no one told you about the winds that led to the fires, and we know that your staffers were told about it. So obviously, if we're to believe you, your staffers didn't tell you. Have you fired any of your staffers?
It's a good question to the woman who fired the fire chief over that.
And let me just say that the messages that my staff received, mass emails that basically talked about a tentative meeting on Monday. They received that on Friday. Did not see that. It didn't rise to the level of something that was critical. So, yes, we are evaluating everything in my office, in the fire department.
So they got the emails, but they didn't read them?
Okay, what is it that she's saying here? If the fire department emailed the mayor's office about the risk of the wind and the potential fire danger, but they didn't put it in bright lights, they didn't send someone to jump out of a cake.
In the fire department, in the emergency management department, all of it is being evaluated.
But
what are they supposed to do? Send in edible arrangements?
That might have been about more effective to get her attention. It didn't matter. She was notified. Her staffers were notified. But nothing was going to stop her from getting on that plane and getting down in Africa.
No, she didn't want to skip the party. That's what this is all about. She knows it. We know it. Her staff was notified about it in writing. The fire department has copies of that correspondence. So now her excuse is, well, they didn't make a big enough deal about it.
Now, another part of this press conference that was quite fascinating was when Karen Bass spent 10 minutes with Ulysses talking about how great MacArthur Park is, which can be easily proven false by seeing MacArthur Park. She was asked, how come Norm Langer, the man who got national attention on MacArthur Park last year when he threatened to close his legendary deli over the conditions at MacArthur Park, how come he's saying that you're not even talking to him about what you're doing?
This is a question in regard to today, Mayor. I know you're all talking about this being a community and collaborative effort. Norm Langer at Langer's wanted to know why he wasn't made aware of any of these statistics, or he doesn't blame the LAPD, but says he's not seeing the resources and he's not seeing the change, and he's calling the fencing down there blight.
You know, it's interesting. I know that people from my office as well as LAPD are in contact with Mr. Langer regularly, so I'm not sure why he didn't know.
I just spoke to him. Any other questions? He's pissed with you. Any other questions?
It's John Alley again. I just spoke to him, and he's pissed at you.
I love the fact that Allie is there fact-checking them live.
These press conferences are all done outdoors. You can heckle all you want.
So I'm not sure why he didn't know.
I just spoke to him. Any other questions? He's pissed with you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
He said that he hasn't been in contact. He said he was not made aware of it. So he doesn't blame.
So the reporter asks, hey, how come Norm Langer hasn't been made aware of any of this? You're not talking to him. Karen Bass says, no, we're talking to him. And the reporter says, no, he told us you're not talking to him.
I believe the reporter and not Karen Bass.
People are going to believe the pastrami man over Mother Goose 100 out of 100 times.
He said that he hasn't been in contact. He said he was not made aware of it. So he doesn't blame the LAPD chief. He's just saying that what's happening down there, especially in regard to a lot of the vendors on the streets, he's paying taxes, paying sales tax, and he said he can walk right out his door. And
when there have been vendors right out in front of his restaurant, we have moved on them as soon as we saw them.
Sure you did. That's why they're not there right now, right?
And I wonder how many times he has to call the city to get them to act on it.
And so it is, can wind up being a whack-a-mole situation. But
a what?
She has a weird way of pronouncing things.
And so it is, can wind up being a whack-a-mole situation. But
who's Mo?
One of the Three Stooges?
And so it is, can wind up being a whack-a-mole situation. But
does that make her curly?
Yuck.
I don't know if anybody can drive around there now and not see a significant...
Actually, she's more of a Shemp.
I don't know if anybody can drive around there now and not see a significant difference. Doesn't mean the job is done.
Oh, so you're actually backtracking and refuting yourself from what you just said right there.
Because she knows if they fact check her again, they're just going to contradict what she just said.
And not see a significant difference. Doesn't mean the job is done. We have a long way to go, and we have to deal with the people who are suffering from addiction. That's the next step.
Yeah, but you're not. You're doing everything but clearing out the drug addicts from the park, which is why no one takes their kids to the park. So what you're doing is nothing, and you're announcing a victory laugh. Pat yourselves on the back. Thank you, Nissy's, for her leadership press conference for nothing, in the hopes that it would make people not ask you about the fires.
Everything that they're doing there is temporary. We're cleaning out the trash. Okay, fine. What are you doing about the people who are producing the trash?
Nothing. Oh, we're giving them Narcan.
But I think that we have made significant improvements, and much more needs to be done.
So you have and you haven't. We're doing a great job, but there's still so much to do.
Thanks for clearing that up. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Well, John, you're well aware that there's a phenomenon on this show where we ever talk about Katie Porter, the email bag blows up with things that I cannot read on the air.
No!
It turns out that same phenomenon is true whenever you mention Rosie O'Donnell.
That's her brother from another mother. Sister.
There are several Rosie emails that I am not reading with a 10-foot pole.
Probably a good idea. We're going through the sound of LA Mayor Karen Bass's press conference outside of MacArthur Park.
And before Karen Bass got asked about the text messages, before she got asked about Norm Langer, Karen Bass passed the mic on to Ulysses Hernandez, because this press conference was really about making sure that Ulysses got validated for all of the insane things she's done to MacArthur Park that now she says are a success.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, Bass is getting heckled first by John Alley.
Boy, he was tenacious.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bass. We're here today to highlight the progress made in advancing the health, safety, and accessibility of MacArthur Park, and acknowledge that there's more work to be done.
Oh, so you're taking a victory lap over nothing.
What's the point of having the victory lap if they have to have a qualifier for every time they pat themselves on the back saying, well, it's not done yet. We still have a lot to do, but we've done something.
The progress made thus far is a testament to collaboration and to an all-hands-on-deck approach that both myself and the mayor have committed ourselves to.
She's tying herself to the mayor. Karen Bass is playing with the DSA.
This is the political odd couple, but I think it's more than just Ulysses because she seems to have all the DSA people locked up.
When we invest in community, we invest in public safety. And
hey, she could be mayor.
Don't even think about it.
When we invest in community, we invest in public safety. And that's what we're seeing at MacArthur Park today. The challenges facing MacArthur Park didn't arise overnight, and they will not be solved overnight either.
Then why are you taking a victory lap?
There is no point to it.
But with our leadership that we have here...
Of course, we got to thank ourselves for our leadership.
Whenever they thank each other for their leadership, that's when you know it's a dumpster fire.
But with our leadership that we have here, we're definitely going to take it to a level...
Why is she so out of breath?
Did you hear the heavy breathing when she took the microphone?
Yes.
It sounded like an obscene phone call.
We're definitely going to take it to a level that none of our predecessors have ever taken it to. For decades, this historic place has been overlooked and left without the investment it needs to thrive. For too long...
I mean, because it's a drug den?
Okay, that park wasn't always like it is now. Sure, it's been going in the wrong direction for a long time. But right now, it's just this lawless part of the city where everyone knows, okay, let's just turn our heads, turn our back to that, like we're pro wrestling referees. And anything that goes on in the park can go on in the park, as long as it doesn't leave the park.
For too long, there's been a culture of government of passing the buck, of shifting responsibility instead of rolling up our sleeves and getting down to business together.
Oh, so she's got buckets full of cliches, too.
Oh, yeah.
And for too long, stakeholders have worked in isolation, keeping information, resources, and decisions disconnected and ineffective. We're doing things differently here. We're working together, side by side with city departments, service providers, community leaders, residents, and my colleagues in the city, county, and state.
Okay, how much money is she getting from MacArthur Park, and how many organizations are she funding to clean up the mess?
Well, who's going to say no to her? The mayor owes her big time because she's providing political cover for the mayor. If you are Gavin Newsom, do you want Ulysses Hernandez screaming and yelling about you publicly right as you're getting ready to run for president? No. If you're the county of Los Angeles, do you want her to be a thorn in your side? No. So they just give her the Brinks truck, and then we end up with a bunch of Narcan.
Because that's what effective leadership looks like, and that's how we get things done.
Boy, you know, she's the only one I've ever seen that thanks herself for her leadership.
Oh, yes.
Because that's what effective leadership looks like, and that's how we get things done, by sharing responsibility and making sure no one falls through the cracks. 3 months ago, my office gathered...
How about making sure nobody can buy crack?
That would be a better place to start.
3 months ago, my office gathered with members of the community to announce a series of new investments in the park, including peace ambassadors...
They're just so obsessed with these ambassadors.
Well, of course, it's an ex-con jobs program, which means a lot of her friends.
Public safety. That's what they're worried about.
And let's not forget what we learned about the safety ambassadors in San Francisco contracted by Urban Alchemy, who also has contracts with Los Angeles and Culver City. They're paying these people $8 every time they say, hey, you want a cigarette?
What's funny is, if you were to just go back a few years, that would be unfathomable because cigarettes were the worst thing ever for a long period of time. They banned it in bars. They banned it in restaurants. They banned it in state buildings. They banned it virtually everywhere, even in private residences if you live in a certain type of place. And now we just give them out and incentivize people to give them out because the homeless are now a protected class and criminals are a protected class, so just give them whatever they want.
Including peace ambassadors, overdose response teams, and new efforts to improve safety and cleanliness.
How's that working out?
The place is a gem. Take your kids this weekend.
In December, my office announced that we were contracting with Healing Urban Barrios and Homies Unidos.
Even more organizations that are getting funded by Ulysses Hernandez and your tax dollars.
Boy, we're making a lot of people rich.
And the park is still a hellhole.
And it's not going to look any different anytime soon.